Hi everyone! Welcome to day 9 of my 12 Days of Interactive December Dailies video series. Today I'm working on Story 21 in my 10x8 December daily album, and this one is going to be documenting some COVID-related news that had been going on during that time. So last year in my 5x8 December daily album, I had created a newspaper dispenser to document the COVID news last year, and that ended up being one of my favorite spreads from last year's album in terms of like the crafty aspect. And this year, this COVID news spread might just be one of my favorites as well. I think I just really wanted to stay away from like the doom and gloom of COVID because I deal with that a lot at work. And so I purposely tried to create layouts that are a bit more whimsical so that I can hide all the sad stuff when I don't want to have to see it. So for this year's COVID spread, I created these masks that look like they're kind of hanging off of a rack. And on the back of these masks is where I'm hiding the little screenshots of the front pages of some newspapers from that time. I'm starting off with some pattern paper that I've cut down to 3¼ inches by 3¼ inches. These are all patterns from the December Daily main kit or the 10x8 pattern paper add-on. And I'm scoring my paper at 3¼ inches, 1 inch, 1½ inches, 1¾ inches, 2¼ inches, 2½ inches, and 3 inches. So that's 7 score marks in total. And those are the score marks going from what would be like the bottom of the mask going up. And I always like to pre-fold my scored pieces along the score marks all in the same direction before I do my accordion folds. It just helps to train the paper into place a bit better. So starting at the top of the mask, I'm folding the little 1/4 inch piece down so that the white on the back of the pattern paper covers the front of the pattern paper at the top there. To me, that just looks like where the nose piece would be on like a surgical mask. Then I'm going to accordion fold all the way down this mask to create the pleats. And once I'm done that, I did add a final score mark about 1/4 inch away from the very bottom of the mask. But I'm not going to fold at that very last score mark. And to me, that part just looks like what would be like the bottom seam of a surgical mask there. And of course, you can feel free to make your masks as close to real life or as imaginary as you want. And here I'm just using some 1/8 inch score tape to adhere that top nose piece down. Here I'm just burnishing my folds down with my burnishing tool just to help them stay in place a bit better. And before I tape down any of my other folds, I'm going to open up my mask and fold it gently in half, a bit more firmly at the top where the nose piece is and at the bottom of the mask, and a bit more loosely towards the center part of the mask. Next, I was trying to decide how to best adhere the twine to the sides of my mask to serve as ear loops. And at first I was thinking I might want to sew them into place, but I was also thinking that for such a small piece, it might be a bit too much work to try to sew them, especially because my sewing skills aren't that good yet. So instead, I have these screenshots of the front page of some newspapers in Alberta from around that time, and I sized them down to approximately 3 inches tall by 2 inches wide to fit behind each of my masks. I got these from the Front Pages app, which is an app that lets you read the front page of some major newspapers around the world, but you can only access the newspapers from like the same day. So I always make sure to go in and take screenshots of news articles when they come out, because it can be hard to find newspapers from specific days after the fact. So I decided the best way to adhere the twine to my masks would be to sandwich the twine between the newspaper screenshots and the backs of my masks. Before I do that, I'm using some more 1/8 inch score tape to adhere those accordion folds into place. I did try adhering the accordion folds down onto the front of the pattern paper with the next mask that I made, instead of adhering them down on the back of the pattern paper like I did with this first mask. And I found that adhering them down on the front side made the folds look a bit more tight so that the mask isn't as three-dimensional. So I would definitely recommend adding the score tape at the back if you are going to adhere the pleats down. And now I'm just using some 3/8 inch score tape to adhere down the twine, and just using my scoring board to get the twine positioned consistently between the two sides. I'm just attaching the twine so that it's coming out of the screenshot at approximately 1/4 of an inch away from either edge of the newspaper clipping. And once that's all done, I'm going to use some more score tape to attach the newspaper screenshot behind my mask. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create 4 more masks for 5 in total. And so I'll have 4 for the 4 screenshots and then 1 for a bit of journaling that I had put together for the back of the last mask. And now they're all assembled and ready to be put on a page. For my background, I'm using a background that I created for a Stretch Your Stamps December daily video featuring digital stamps. I had used a present that was from the Paisley Press digital stamp set to create like a brick pattern to make a stencil, and I had put some texture paste through that stencil to make it look like a brick wall. And I also have some wood grain paper from Michael's, and I wanted this to kind of look like I have masks hanging from a wooden panel on a wall somewhere. So I'm cutting this wood grain paper down to 11 inches wide, and I'm going to ink up the edges with some distress ink. This is the ground espresso color, and that just gives it a bit of shadowing and definition to make it look like an actual wood panel. And these brushes that I'm using are from Tailored Expressions. I just find that they give like a nice soft blend to your papers. Here I have some kind of antique brass colored brads here that I'm just going to use to pin the masks to this wood grain paper. So just using my awl to poke some holes every 2 inches, and the wood grain pattern coincidentally has this line going across the paper here, which made for a good place to anchor my brads. So once I'm done, I'm going to have the masks kind of loosely dangle from the brads here, and I'll either be able to flip them upside down to read the backs of them, or I could also take them off the brads if I want to as well. I'm not going to push in the brads really tightly against the page. To finish off this page, I have my usual wood veneer number on top of a plastic heart, and I didn't have enough of the Storytelling Basics Gold Alpha stickers from Ali Edwards to use on this page, so I'm just using some gold puffy alphas from Citrus Twist Kits instead. I just really wanted a gold font with this page to kind of emulate like a nice cozy nook where you might hang up all your Christmas masks. And my title is just going to be COVID News. I tend not to be very creative with my titles, so COVID News it is. And I'm just adhering this wood grain panel onto my brick background with some more score tape, just because I was worried that the usual dry adhesive that I use, the Tombow Mono Permanent Adhesive Tape Runner, I was worried that that wouldn't adhere to the texture paste very well. And that completes my layout for today. I hope you enjoyed this process video, and as much as I love how this spread turned out with the cute little masks, I hope I will never have to document COVID news again in another December daily album. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed for more process videos, and thank you so much for watching.